Today, I'm going to show you how to deal with the LDSWard project, which is an in-class project, but I'm going to show you the basics and give you enough so that you should be able to complete it on your own. This is shown under week 2. And under week 2, we have class activities, and there's this LDSWard. Well, what do we do with that? Well, you look at it, and it shows you some data. And from this data, it wants you to reverse engineer and think, well, if you were going to create the backend database for this data, how would you do it? So before you continue, you're going to need to download this LDSWard spreadsheet, and I'm going to be referring to it throughout this podcast. So in order to create a new database diagram or model, we go to MySQL Workbench and click on File, New Model. And I go ahead. I have another model that I'm not going to save. And here I have my schema, MyDB, and I'm going to create a diagram. So I'll double click on Add Diagram. And now I can start creating my models. Now, if you look at the data, we have to start developing some entities from the data. And some of the things, we've got member information, we've got callings, organizations, ward, mission, endowment, and ordinance. So that's kind of basically how I'm seeing this broken down based on the columns. So I'm going to start with the member table. So I click here on this table icon, and then I click in white space and right click on the table, and I get the options to start editing it. So I'm going to call the first table member, and I'm going to give it a member ID. Make it a primary key, and has to have a value, so it can't be null, and I'm unique, and I'm going to make it auto increment. And I'm going to give it a first name. That's one of the attributes that would go with member. Bar chart is good. Require value. Give it a last name. Oops, misspelled that. And I'll make that require value. What else do I need on here? Well, I need date of birth. So I'll say birth date. And there is a data type of date. That's what I want to use. So I'll select that. Require a value. What else do I have in here? Well, I've got the mission, but I want that to link out to the mission table. What else could I put on here? There's a number of things, but I want to put them in other entities and link to the member table. So I'm going to start creating some of those other entities. So let's create an entity for the endowment. So I'm going to call this endowment. Give it an endowment ID. Primary key, same things we've done before. And I'm going to give this endowment type. Okay. So I've got that. And what else do I need here? I need a mission. So I'll create a mission table. Edit that. So let's call it mission. So then I've got mission ID. You know what? I think I want to make sure I'm editing the right table here. Okay, I am. Mission ID, and then the mission name. Okay. Now, this is where someone will say, well, where do I put the mission start and end date? I'm actually going to put that on the member because that's unique to the member. List of missions could be applied to lots of different members, but I'm going to go ahead and put it in the member table. So I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to edit the member table, and I'm going to add mission begin, make that a date, and mission end. Okay. Make those both required. All right. What are some of the other tables I need? I need a ward table. So here, make that a ward. Whoops. Ward ID and ward name. Now some might ask, why don't you just put the ward right on the member? Well, the reason is if I create a ward table, which could be considered a lookup table, then I can provide a list of wards in the ward table that the user can select from, and then they're not just typing it in. That way I can have consistency in the way that the ward names are entered. Let's make that require value. All right, what else do I need here? I've got an endowment, I've got ward mission. I don't have an ordination table. So let's go ahead and put that ordination ID. Okay. And notice we need a date on ordination as well. So let's see. All right. So what else are we missing? Looks like we need an organization table. Okay. So I'm thinking about that. Couldn't we put that on the ward table? Because a person is not assigned to more than one ward at a time. And they also typically, I mean, they could have more than one calling at a time, but we're going to assume for this project that they're only going to have one calling. So I'm going to go ahead and edit the ward table and add a few more fields to it. I'm going to add the calling field. And I'm going to also, well, some people don't have a calling, so I'm not going to make that required. And I'm going to put the organization that they are assigned to. Okay. And that I will require value because they are going to be in part of an organization. Right. So now what we have to do is we need to start linking these together. And I'm not going to do all the linking because just in the interest of time, you can go back and create the links for the ones that we don't do that need to be done. Now, on where that's most significant is on mission, endowment, ward, and ordination. We could create lookup tables so they have a list of things to choose from. So I'm going to do it for just one of these. Okay. And I'm going to do that for the mission table. So this I call table. I'm going to call it mission. We'll call it lookup. Call this mission lookup ID, key, mission name. Now I need to start creating the relationships between these tables. So let's do this lookup table first. So mission lookup is going to be the primary key for mission. Since I'm doing a lookup, I'm going to have to remove mission name from mission. So let me go over here and edit that. Remove mission name. Okay. So to create a foreign key one-to-many relationship, you can't see them all because I've got this kind of compressed, but if I click on this, I can see the rest of my options. This is the one-to-many. Mission lookup is going to be the one. Mission is going to be the many. So I just did that wrong because you want to do the many first. So let's try that again. So click on that. Mission is going to be the many. mission lookup the 1, and you can see that it added mission lookup ID, and there's the many, there's the 1. Why is mission lookup the 1? Because we're going to enter the mission names in there just one time, and then whenever they're required over here, they look them up from over here. Okay. Now, for member and endowment, a member can have more than one endowment, and an endowment can be assigned to more than one member. So we have to create an associative table between these two, okay, or a linking table sometimes called. So I need to click on table again. I'll click right here, and I'm going to call this table the member endowment table. Member underscore endowment. Okay. And I'm going to assign it a primary key. People don't always, but when you have a associative table, but I find it easier when generating queries to do it. So I'll call this member endowment ID. Automatically adds this on the front, but that's not the naming convention that we use. We use underscores. Okay, so let's add the same parameters to that. Okay, so now what I need to do is I need to link, let's move these over, member and endowment together through the member endowment table. The member is going to be the primary key to member endowment, and I've got a problem here. I've got to move this second column. In both cases, the member endowment table is going to be the many for each side. So let me click on the one to many again. Member is the many. I'm sorry, the 1. So the many comes first, or the foreign key. So I'll click on primary endowment and then member. Do the same thing for endowment. Oh, I did it backwards again. I got to click the foreign key first. Okay. Now you would do the same thing. You would create a intermediate or associative table between member and ordinance, and you would do it. Well, I guess that's the only one at the moment. You're only assigned to one ward at a time, so we need to create this relationship. So let's do a one-to-many between ward and member. Okay. And we need to do the same thing for mission, a one-to-many. Mission is the primary key, member is the foreign, so I'll click on member first, mission. Okay. All right. Well, let's go ahead and do it for the ordination table too. So, but I'm not going to enter data for all these when we get to that point. So I'll click on table, and I'm going to call this the member ordination table. Okay, member ordination ID, and now I need to create the association between member and ordination. So I click on my one-to-many again. Member ordination is the foreign key member. Click on that one-to-many again. Ordination is the 1, member ordination is the many. So I'll click on the foreign key first. Okay. So that's, I haven't looked at every single field, but I think we pretty much have what we need here. So let's go ahead, and what we can do is we can now forward engineer this and create the actual tables by clicking on database and forward engineer. Click next. I like to do this drop objects before create. Now I just realized something I want to do. I don't want the database or schema that these entities get created in called MyDB. I want it to be called member, or I'll call it LDS member, LDS member. I'm going to rename the reference. So now I'll go back and do a forward engineer. Next, drop to objects before create. And it generates a script to create the schema and all the tables within it. So click next again. And that completed successfully. So now we go back here to localhost and refresh. I now have this LDS member schema or database, and there's all my tables. In the next video, I'll show you how to actually enter the data for LDS member.